Well, good afternoon, Di on the West Coast. How
Good
are you
morning.
doing today?
Good morning, Thea. It's cloudy and I think we're getting a little rain today in LA, but honestly, the air is beautiful, so I'm loving it.
Well, this is TVT with Di and Fee, and I'm your host, Thea D'Souza, and this is my co-host.
Diane Gordon on the West Coast representing.
I was just out in your beautiful state
Yes,
last
you
week.
were.
I
Well,
did.
you were in Palm Springs. You were doing the desert thing.
I went to Palm Springs for 4 nights to stay with my friend Adrian, who is Phaedra Parks and Brandy Glanville and Tom Sandoval's publicist. And I'll tell you, Di, I was getting ready to go. I'm bringing my kids and my husband. And the day before I was leaving, she called me. She goes, "Oh my gosh, I got the dates mixed up. Phaedra and her kids are going to be here. You're all going to be staying here. It's fine." And I was like, "What? Like, amazing. Do you know how much people pay to stay the night with Phaedra Parks?" I was so excited, but then she canceled the last minute. And I'm not going to say it was because I was there, but I'm sure it didn't help that she was like, "Oh, by the way, you know that Bravo fan account your moms are watching? Well, they're going to be in the house. So be on your best behavior."
And I remember I got to meet Adrienne at your book party in LA, and she's so nice and so lovely. So,
She
um,
worked very hard for all of our favorite Bravo Lebs. It's a
but
thick
Thea, tell,
job.
tell the truth. Did you really go out to the desert to go to Coachella?
No, it was the last night of Coachella. So I think that's why Phaedra wanted to come stay with her because her kids wanted to see Travis Scott. So they were
Ah,
trying to get tickets and do all that and stay with Adrian, but it just didn't work out. So I know I'm not into Coachella, but they did have when you flew in, we flew in the last day of Coachella and there were all the signs and things for Coachella, and that was kind of cool to see adjacent. I would not want to go to one of those concerts if you paid me $1 million.
well, I now go to Coachella the way old people do. I watch stuff on YouTube because they do
Exactly.
an amazing live stream. And can I just say, Shabuzi did an amazing set, as did Charlie XCX.
Oh my gosh, I liked Lady Gaga. She was pretty
Oh,
awesome.
she was terrific. She was
Yeah,
fantastic.
she went
Yeah.
all for it. I am not into concerts. I never have been. Even back when I was young, I was not a concert person.
Wow.
I
That
know.
surprised me because you're just a
I
big bag of fun.
I did get I scalped tickets to see the Smashing Pumpkins at Madison Square Garden. And when I went up to cash them in, they were fake. So I went back outside and tackled the guy who took my money and took our money back from him out of his pocket. And I've never had a more proud moment with my friend group in my life because I'm very little and I'm not tough. And I jumped on top of this kid and pulled his hoodie almost off of his body until he handed us our money back. I'm a
I,
legend for that reason.
oh, I wish there was a viral video of that. My concert fun fact is that when I was much younger, when I was in college, my then roommate and still good friend Laura said, "Hey, we're gonna go see this band, the Red Hot Chili Peppers." Had no idea who the Red Hot Chili Peppers were. And then, of course, I go and I experience the crazy rock, funk,
Were
energy.
they moshing? Were people like
No,
crowd
no,
surfing?
this is when they were wearing, and they came out at one point with socks on their dicks, and I was like, I'm now an Angelino. This is official now.
Amazing.
The Midwestern girl in me was shocked, and then the rest of me was like, okay, I'm here for it.
You're here. You've arrived in Los Angeles. Well,
Exactly.
I loved being out there because I got to revisit all of my old haunts. And I love this is what I love the best about LA is that everybody is celeb adjacent, right? Like everybody. So
So
I
true.
had I had dinner with a girl who was Miley Cyrus's stand-in on Hannah Montana for years.
All right,
So
that tracks.
she had lots of great Miley stories. Basically, she said Miley hated everybody on the show but her, and so she would tell her everything and then commiserate about
Wow.
how she did not like anybody on Hannah Montana, and that she didn't trust any of them, and that my friend, who was her stand-in, was like her closest confidant. I thought that was cool.
I am a huge Miley Cyrus fan, and I feel like, she's gone through a lot of wild stuff, but I also think she's one of the best singers around. I think she has such an amazing voice.
Oh,
So
she's amazing.
I don't want to, I really, if she's a horrible person, I don't want to know. I think she's so talented.
No,
Leave me in my bubble.
right. No, she was great. But speaking of people who weren't great in person, I flew home with Tom Colicchio.
All right, you mentioned this, and I have objections, but go ahead.
Side, he could not have been more grumpy. I mean, I get it. We were on a red eye flight. Our flight was majorly delayed, like at least an hour. We're all grumpy. We're all waiting to get on the flight, and they keep telling us it's delayed. So he's not happy, which nobody would be. But like when I tell you was scowling, I'm saying like I would never in a million years approach a celebrity in the wild anyway. So I wasn't gonna like say, hey Tom, but we were hanging out together, waiting to get on with my kids and whatever. And if this guy did not ever even once look up and smile or anything, even when we were all joking around about being delayed, oh my God, he really seemed grumpy. Die.
I'm telling you, I am not going to judge because
I know.
yeah, everyone has moods. And also, yeah, he probably was grumpy. And you know what? It's okay. Let
No,
him
I get it. I get it. But
let Tom Colicchio live.
I get it, but I watch these things closely when I meet people in person because I really like to see like, are they a good one? Because you can't tell on Top Chef, that's his job. And I
Right.
have friends who worked for him in New York at his restaurant who also did not say the best thing. So I kind of already was predisposed against him, but this really sealed the deal. Like zero eye contact, smile to anybody. It was not. It was yeah.
I think a lot of chefs are very exacting and demanding anyway.
No,
So,
you're right.
hey, look, there's a lot of people that don't have, the vivacious personalities that we do, Thea. They're not all, we can't all be delightful flowers in this garden of life.
Well, okay. Speaking of the industry, the studio, we missed 2 weeks of the studio on
Oh,
here.
that's right, because you were away.
I was away, so we didn't cover last week's brilliant episode or this week. So last week, of course,
Pediatric oncologist, where Matt finds himself dating a hot doctor played by Rebecca Hall, and she invites him to a fundraiser. And literally the simplest of premises and just a brilliant episode.
well, this show is reminding me more and more of Curb Your Enthusiasm. Now, he's obviously the misanthrope, the Larry David, who gets put in these situations that bring out the worst in him. This is how I feel because pediatric oncologist is such a Curb Your Enthusiasm title for an episode where Larry's going to go somewhere and put his foot in his mouth about cancer, kids with cancer. I really think, and he is such a misanthrope. And I will tell you,
I could not disagree more.
you don't think Seth Rogen's a misanthrope?
Absolutely okay. Wrong.
He definitely compared the industry as more important than curing cancer. He did do that.
He put them on the same level, which means that he has something of a God complex, and doctors also have a God complex. I actually think Matt is the opposite of a misanthrope. I think Matt's looking for the best, but he is constantly disappointed. It's like he says, I was hired to make films and now I ruin them. And that is, I think, at the crux of pretty much every episode of the studio and what makes it so funny and so brilliant and truthful, honestly. But no, I don't think it's we're different. We differ.
Well, I will say you could say the same about Larry David, which is that at heart, his character in Curb Your Enthusiasm does have redeeming qualities.
Yes.
But yet he is constantly let down by people, the same as Seth Rogen's character. So of course they're not the same. But I did see shades of Larry David in that episode where he was comparing being a movie executive to people who cure child cancer, not just cancer child cancer.
No, I just think it's very funny, to watch
so hard.
Watch that argument and to say, oh, don't do it, man. Just don't do it. Don't get into this argument.
And then this week, of course, which is classic Larry David, classic Seinfeld. Should we be talking about this with the race? I mean, that was a classic trope right out of Seinfeld and Curb.
In this week's episode about casting the Kool-Aid movie, the big Kool-Aid movie, which still makes me laugh.
Right.
Yes. And Matt realizing that, oh my God, he might be racist, which is always a funny moment.
So, classic Larry David. You have to admit a little bit. I guess I might be drawing too close of parallels because, of course, many differences. But I am watching this show more of like, and I wonder if you agree with me, Di, more like a documentary on working in Hollywood.
No. I think there are a lot of notes that strike very true because look, they're writing. I think Seth and Evan are writing what they know and they're writing the episodes. And I think they're writing what they know, but no, it's not a documentary because a documentary, one, it's not quite as cool. And
that's true.
Everything moves a lot slower, especially in the movie business. And one of the great things about the studio is this frenetic pace, this incredibly you really feel that wonderful comic tension every time you watch. And The movie business is slow as molasses.
It's true. Shades of Aaron Sorkin with the walk and talk dialogue and all. I'm loving all of these references to all different kinds of TV legendary shows. But you're right. It is the most frustrating thing that they call development hell. Is
Right.
that 99% of the projects that you love and care about and are passionate about don't ever see the light of day, and they call it development hell for a reason. And so of course that's not very cinematic. That's not very pleasing.
Exactly.
So they're not going to cover that aspect of it and stuff. Right. It does not move fast. Things don't happen.
Yeah, so that's why I don't think it doesn't remind me of a documentary, but I know why you think it is. I understand why you say that, but no, and also look, when something is this brilliantly written and realized, you know that it takes a lot more work than just training a camera on something.
Right. I mean, I'm
documenting it.
I'm loving just the talks that they have about projects. Just remind me so much of working at Copelson, which we're one of the most prolific production companies in Hollywood in terms of our development deal, which was $30 million a year from Fox, and how many projects we brought up. And then, I mean, having almost the exact conversation about casting, almost the exact conversation about Black, white, Asian. Well, we can't do this. Well, we have to do this. And I'm sure that was 20 years ago. So today it's even 1,000 times more amplified with cancel culture and with not wanting to offend people. But,
well, but everyone in Hollywood's relieved now because there's no more DEI, says our orange sack of a president. So everyone doesn't have to care. It can be all white again. Woohoo! I'm saying that sarcastically for the record, ladies and gentlemen. I don't mean that.
No. Well, also another brilliant show, I don't know if you've been watching it, is The Rehearsal with Nathan Fielder. Have you been watching it?
I am watching The Rehearsal. And I'm here, Thea, is it satire?
The thing that I love about him the most, and it's always been this way, is you just never know when he's kidding. You never know. Everything is so deadpan. You don't know when you should be taking things as parody or you should be taking things as straight on. And he does that, I believe, on purpose. But I think he's always making a satirical point. I think he's always trying to make a point about, just kind of like Black Mirror, about our culture today, and about, obviously he makes the point on the last one where he talks about where he sets up the auditions for a Voice American Idol type show where he's talking about auditions. He's talking about what you're looking for in someone when you put them through. And so funny how he talks about what makes people star. And I just think he's making a comment on culture and nowadays celebrities and how it's not even about talent anymore, really.
Okay. All right. Because when I watch it, the show leaves me cold a lot of the time.
Right.
I think what he did about with recreating the scene with the Nazi,
essentially comparing Paramount Plus to Nazis, because they did not air. They took down from their platform an episode that he had made once of one of his past shows.
Naked for You.
Right, that talked about anti-Semitism, and they took it off their platform, obviously probably thinking that they don't want to create any conflict. And he took offense to that and then made a whole show basically comparing them to Nazis, which was hilarious. But you didn't find it hilarious. I found it a searing indictment of corporate culture and how they've taken over entertainment in such a corporate way. I don't know.
I mean, I definitely saw the commentary in it. I knew what he was trying to do, but also I don't think a lot of what he does is funny, and that's okay.
No, I don't think it's meant to be laugh out loud funny, but I think it's meant to make you think.
All right, then he's doing that. Okay.
I is not a fan. Okay.
No, do you know what it is? It's also, as I get older, I always wonder, like, oh, am I just not like hip to what's funny? I like to think I know what's funny.
Right.
Like, I'll recognize it. It might not be my type of humor, but I'll say, oh, yeah, I get why people think that's funny. I don't want to lose that.
Right. Well, what makes me kind of laugh, not obviously guffaw, because it's not that kind of comedy, but what always gets me with him and what always keeps me coming back for more is just how far he's willing to push an envelope for a bit, right? Like, I mean, it is a bit, the airport thing, he's creating an entire airport to the first episode was about trying to train.
Yeah, let's not even go there, because honestly, I felt that whole episode was a waste of time. So
okay.
I'm going to pass on that. What else do you want to talk about?
Okay, so let's move on to lighter fare. So a couple lighter shows that I saw this week. the Four Seasons, so a new show on Netflix with Tina Fey
Love.
and Steve Carell. Just darling and lovely. Very light though, you have to admit. They're not going deep on that show.
No, but that's what's great about it is you can watch it and just watch all these incredible actors. I mean, you get
Right.
Tina Fey and Will Forte, Coleman Domingo and Marco Calvani, another couple. Um,
Carrie, Kenny
Carrie
Silver.
can, is she amazing or what?
I did not see that coming. I knew she had the comic chops, obviously, from SNL, but she's really doing the acting work in this show, which I'm
She's
loving.
incredible. She's absolutely incredible. And if you watched Reno 911, you know who Carrie Kenny Silver is
Of
because she's
course.
awesome.
She's
Um,
she's hilarious, and she really tones it down for this part on the Four Seasons, which is lovely to see and makes me think she could do anything. She could be one of those comic actors that goes on to do dramatic roles. She's great.
Agreed. Thea, you'd be really proud of me because I went to the NBC Universal Emmy launch luncheon. So I was talking with most of the cast of the Four
Right.
Seasons, and I managed to talk to Tina Fey without embarrassing myself.
Amazing. I saw the pictures of you hobnobbing, rubbing elbows with the comedy elite, and I was so jealous.
I had some very nice moments with Coleman Domingo. I'm not gonna lie. That
He's
was very, very nice. And do you know what happened when I told Carrie Kenny Silver how much I loved her performance? She looked at me and she goes, "You have the most beautiful skin, Diane." And I went, "Oh, thank you." I said, "That's so nice of you." But lovely, lovely, lovely woman. Will Forte also incredibly nice.
when I worked for Julia Roberts, one of my jobs as story editor was finding new projects for us to for Julia to produce, not really to act in.
Right.
And I met with Tina Fey. She was the head writer at SNL at the time, and she came into my office to pitch me. And she was so incredibly brilliant. When I tell you my jaw was on the floor at how well read she is and how completely unassuming and modest she came across. Had the best meeting with her. They had yet to write Bridesmaids, so she really hadn't done a feature, but she wanted to. She wanted to get into features at this point. So we were talking about ideas, and she was pitching me the He's Not That Into You book to make it into a movie, and
Sure.
At the time I was like, really? Do you see a movie there? Of course, stupid me, but there is a movie there.
Yes.
I loved her, and she invited me to go see Upright Citizens Brigade that night because she was performing. So
Nice.
I, picked up my stuff at 7 o'clock at night after working a long day, walked over to the theater, like, okay, she asked me to come, I'm going to come. And it was Tina Fey, Amy Poehler, Matt Besser, Will Ferrell, like on a little stage in the dumpiest theater. Just seriously, my stomach hurt. Every skit that they did, Will Ferrell would come in with a fake boom, like he just walked on the stage with a boom, and like nothing, never said anything. I was dying laughing. Everything was just so random. They were so funny. So I have a huge appreciation for it. But I will say, in person, like not the funniest, just very serious, very well studied. We're talking about movies, what kind of movies she wanted to make, and I thought, wow, she is not like a joker at all, and very smart. I had such a new appreciation. And then of course she went on to have a storied career as a movie writer, and 30 Rock and all that. So I shouldn't have underestimated her.
I'm very excited because, one of the rumors is that, when Lorne Michaels decides that he is ready to step aside, it's Tina who will step in. And
I mean, I can see it.
And my theory is that's going to be Tina Fey or Seth Meyers. One of the two of them, because they know that SNL machinery so well.
I could see it, and I think Tina Fey would be great because she's very diplomatic and gets along with everybody and has no kind of drama. When I met her, so she had just gotten married and just had her first child.
Oh wow, that was a while ago.
Right.
Yeah.
This is I want to say 2099, so a very long time ago. And she was very not into any of that. She was very into like wanting to be a mom and but I'm sure by now she is completely over all that, and now probably would want to take a job like that. But I remember us talking about what was next for her, and she was like, I just want to spend time with my family.
I get it. That makes
But I
sense.
can't imagine that running SNL is a fun job. I don't know. It seems hard.
I think being in the Lorne job would be amazing, especially they, both Tina and Seth, they've both been head writers on the show, performed on the show. They just know it so well. And they're also both really well respected.
Right.
So boy, oh boy, I just love that rumor. So
no, I know. Well, who knows? I mean, Lorne can't last forever.
No one knows.
Right.
Let me think. Can I talk about one of my favorite shows of the past week, or since you've been away?
Yes.
Bravo's Love Hotel. I have to say, this was an inspired idea.
It is.
Giselle Bryant, Lou Ann Lesseps, Ashley Darby, and Shannon Storms Bedore looking for love in some, I don't even know where they filmed it. It was probably like Puerto
It's
Vallarta.
in Puerto Vallarta. It's in
Yeah,
Mexico. It's hilarious. It's genius. I
I
will
think
say,
it's really funny.
I keep thinking about how it wasn't supposed to be Ashley Darby. It was supposed to be Bryn from Roni, and they,
Oh, really? That
which
would have
would
been
have
good
been,
too.
which would not have been as good. I mean, she's just Bryn. Just to me seems way too self-edited. Also, is she really looking for love on Love Hotel? Like it wouldn't
Good
have
point.
worked. It would have
Good
been bad.
point.
So
That's
I
a good
love
point.
all of them. I think Shannon is always to me funny. I will tell you, Di. I recently got a call from Steve Coren, who
Oh,
famously wrote
sure.
some Seinfeld episodes, and he's been consulting me because he's writing a show for HBO for Molly Shannon, a star vehicle for Molly Shannon,
I
and
love that for us.
right, and the show is Molly is this crazed fan of someone, let's say Taylor Swift level,
Okay.
and checks herself into a really fancy rehab center in Malibu so that she can be next to this star who is serving 30 days in rehab, and that's the premise of the show. And so, knowing that Molly is such a Housewives fan, Steve keeps asking me for advice as to how to incorporate Housewives into this because he doesn't watch the shows. So he called me a while back to ask me if would they have a clip on Watch What Happens Live that would refer. It was something about technicality about Watch What Happens Live. So I gave him that advice. And now his question was: so if my character, Molly Shannon's character, goes into the gym at the rehab center because she wants to do the treadmill right next to the A-list celebrity that she's
Yes.
obsessed with, and there's a treadmill in between her and the star, and in walks a Real Housewife who comes into the treadmill, and Molly gets annoyed and leaves, and then she says something snarky to the housewife, and that's the scene. So he wants to know which housewife would be in a fancy rehab and what would the snarky line be.
Oh, Shannon.
I said, Shannon Bedore, here's the door, Shannon Bedore. Like, come on. But
the only problem with that is that Shannon doesn't admit that she has a problem, so she wouldn't go to rehab.
Right. Well, that's his whole point. It has to be somebody that would be believable in rehab, which I'm like, I mean, there's a few. So I also picked Luann because I do believe Luann probably has a little bit of a drinking problem. I don't know if Luann would want to admit that. And she's also kind of just so statuesque and recognizable. And then he came up with kind of like Goodbye Countess or something to Luann. And I think he liked the Luann one better. And I don't know why. I said Shannon was pretty on the nose because I said she would be the one on the treadmill trying to work out. And
sure.
But yeah, he wanted a really recognizable housewife name that would be believable as they would be in rehab. So I had to come up with a few names for him, but it was super fun. I can't wait to see that come to life.
I will watch that show.
Anyway,
count me in.
But
I also saw that. But I will say, Love Hotel is airing on Sunday nights on Bravo, and it is just so worth it. It's just so funny, and it's funnier than anything you'll see on Real Housewives of Atlanta this season because
no.
that group is not doing. There's not a lot of. I mean, besides Portia, not a lot of good people to watch on that.
Yeah, Real Houses Atlanta is a tough watch for me. I am watching it, but it's hard.
It's boring for the most part.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Portia, so I wasn't excited to have her come back, even though I do think her snark is good. But I just
like
don't.
her, but she doesn't have anyone to spark with.
Exactly.
That's the problem.
I don't think she deserved to come back. I think when you have, I don't know, I think she's too produced. But I always love an underdog die, always. I'm always going to root for the person everyone hates. So I'm loving Drew because they all hate her. And I think, what did this poor girl do to any of you?
No.
I know. No one likes her. Nobody likes her.
Because she's boring and she's not very bright.
I always go for the ones everyone hates.
No.
I know. No. So they did not invite poor Drew on the cast trip, which is I mean, come on, you're on a show. It's a job. What is this excluding people from cast trips?
You know what? It's called real life. You don't get along with everyone, Thea. So no, if you can't get along with people, you don't get invited.
Okay. Good point.
Thea, life is nothing. Life is exactly like high school. The dynamic remains the same your whole life long. Get used to it.
All right, I hear you. Now, have you
I
watched
mean,
it? Have you watched Etoile? Etoile.
I have. I've watched like about 5 or 6 episodes. Look, I've been in love with Luke Kirby for a long time.
So
And
Etoile is the new show by the creators of Gilmore Girls
the
and
Paladinos.
and the short-lived but wonderful Bunheads, which was another show about ballet, which
And
I loved.
this is like Bunheads Redo with grown-ups.
Right. It's
So
Bunhead. So it's a show about ballet, professional ballet dancers, and they famously are using actual professional ballet dancers to do a lot of the dancing in the show. So that makes it lovely. The same kind of Gilmore Girl-esque quick dialogue, some
yes.
cornball stuff, because that's how they are. So, and it's also Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. They also created that show. So I'm loving it. So it's a wonderful little, another light, fluffy watch, but I love anything about ballet dancers. And I
And
think they
also, there's also a great thing because a New York company and a Paris company swap talent. So the incredible Charlotte Gainsbourg, who is so talented,
uh,
such a literally such an A12, such a star, is in the show. And I will say I would have one note. I would have said, don't make her take her shoes off so much because all she does for half the show is take her shoes off and put her shoes on. And I'm like, don't do it to the point where I'm noticing that. But
no, I love it. So I think 12 and Four Seasons fall in the same category for me as kind of just light fare that doesn't make you think too much, but it's such a warm hug. Both of them are such happy shows to watch. So they're a good respite from The Last of Us and other darker fare out there. That
I would agree. I would agree.
And okay, so now we haven't talked about this before, but do you watch Summer House or any of the other
I kind of
ancillary
I
shows?
fell off Summer House because I don't just want to watch them sit around and get drunk.
Right,
I stopped caring.
right,
And I will say, I'm rooting for Paige DeSorbo. I like seeing what's been happening with her. I like seeing her getting that money and making those good brand deals. And I feel like she really knew how to leverage that show. And I don't
right.
really care about her relationship with Craig. I don't care.
No,
I don't care about any of that. Um, the show itself got really tiresome for me though, because it's like watching overgrown adolescents for the most part. The men are especially bad. And with the women, you're like, why are you even like Amanda and Kyle? I'm like, why are you still married to this man? Like, I was like, babe, do you really want to have a kid with this man? No, no, you don't. So no, I haven't been watching every week. Are you enjoying it?
I do. So Summer House and Southern Charm fall in the same category for me with the man boys and the lots of abusive substances and alcohol. So they are painful. But I've been following these people for a long time, so I'm invested.
Right.
This season of Summer House is a little better because Lindsay, one of the leads, is pregnant, so there's a little bit less partying. They have a couple new boys on there who are just awful, which is always fun to watch. They were great their first season, then they got some popularity, and now they've turned into just F boys who treat women badly. So that's been fun. I'm not a huge Paige DeSorbo fan anymore. I used to be. I used to be one of those girls who followed her around obsessively because I thought she was so cute and fashionable, and just like that could be me, right? If I was cuter, I could be Paige. But I think her head's gotten a little big. I'm not loving her as much anymore. I feel like she's just maybe one of those people who hates us all, possibly thinks we're all morons.
I don't think they're far off. You know what? I would tend to agree with that. Yeah.
But I will say Hannah, I've always been a Hannah supporter.
Oh, you like Hannah Burner. Okay.
I do. Back in the day on Summer House, when they fired her, she really got she got a lot of flack from fans, and I always loved the underdog, so I stood up for her, and I'm loving to see her blossom. I don't know, I'm not the hugest fan of her actual comedy, but I will say they did Amy Poehler's Good Hang with Amy Poehler podcast, and Hannah was so quick and so witty and made Amy laugh so hard. I thought, I got to give this girl some props with her comedy. She's making one of the funniest women in the world laugh. And then I just saw she opened for Tina and Amy on their tour. So they let her open with their comedy.
Oh, that's nice.
So that's kind of tipping the hat. That's kind of Johnny Carson putting you in the seat next to him. Like, I feel like we have to give respect to her for that. So I don't hate Paige. I'm not as into her as I used to be, but I am rooting for Hannah and her rise to fame.
I also have to ask, just in a related Bravo note, did you watch What Happens Live last night? Because it was Lisa Vanderpump by herself and your friend Elaine Goldsmith Thomas.
My old boss.
At the bar.
I worked for Elaine at Julia Roberts' company. She was the head of Revolution Studios East, and we had a very small little loft office with maybe 7 of us. So Elaine, my boss, Julia's producing partner, a couple assistants, Rachel Horvich was another producer, and that was it. So I know Elaine very well. I spent 9/11 at her apartment. We walked up to 85 blocks to her apartment, sat in her living room while the world ended. So I love Elaine. We talk all the time.
Typing her book. Yeah.
She sent me her book early and I read it already, and it's amazing. It's actually really a great book. I mean, she bills it as Working Girl meets like Entourage or Sex and the City meets Mad Men. So it's very insider industry. Elaine, obviously famously got her start discovering Julia and working her way up from the mailroom or assistant at William Morris and ICM. So she's a huge power agent. And I really have so much respect for Elaine Goldthwait Thomas and what she's accomplished, because it was not easy. Even when I worked for her in the 90s, watching Elaine try to kind of advocate for Julia was just painful. And then going on to produce with Jennifer Lopez, which can't be easy as well.
Yeah, and just no kidding.
And just making movies like out there again, how hard it is to make stuff, and just movie after movie first with Julia, now with Jennifer. So I really respect her. And LVP, oh my gosh, like the shade that
right.
She does not care about anyone, by the way. And the way she treats her ex-castmates, the kids of Vanderpump Rules, the way she just eviscerates each one of them, shading Sheena, shading all of them. Like, she hates these people, all except for Stassi, and she hates all the housewives. It
was the shadiest episode, I think, in Watch What Happens Live history. Andy
Cohen's mouth was on the floor the whole time. He was like, oh no, you're not going to go there. Then it was like, oh no. And LVP tried to really bring him in on her shade, like, Andy, some of these people have come for you. And he's like, oh, I love everybody. Like, he would not take the bait.
But what was also great is that towards the end, she said, look, I've had a relationship like with Andy.
Right.
So many years, so many seasons of so many shows. So it was very nice to see her actually give Andy some props as well.
No, I love that.
All of this tremendous shade. And also, by the way, Lisa Vanderpump has earned the right to be shady, because for one, she was surrounded by so many dipshits that how do you not shade them? There were so many idiots. How do you not shade people? Although, can I tell you, it touched my heart when she said, I have a soft spot for Tom Schwartz. Because you know what? I have a soft spot for Tom Schwartz.
No, I have a terrible
puppy. He's like a little puppy.
He's a puppy that hid, an affair from his castmates for 7 months and let his castmates and friends be humiliated on television. But no, I have a soft spot for Tom Schwartz. I think Lisa Vanderpump, I'm not a huge fan of hers, but I will say she has earned the right to shade everyone. She does not need any of us MFers. She's got a hotel in Vegas coming. That woman could not need Bravo or any of us any less. But I did think it was very, very funny how she hates these kids. I mean, it's like if your aunt hates you, like you literally raise these kids and they all,
yes.
And the reasons you hate them, because they're all hot messes, is why you have what you have. The show would not have been popular if these kids were normal. And
yes, it's also like having kids. It's also like having kids who came into your nice house and shit all over everything.
They did. I know. I get it.
6 of one, half a dozen of the other. But yes, I do agree with your point, Thea. Yes, I do.
And I thought it was funny too, like thanking Andy basically for making her who she is. But I will say Andy has nothing to do with Vanderpump Rules. So really, it was that he's not a producer on that show. It really was these kids who made you. So you should be thanking Tom Sandoval, Ariana Met, all these kids is who you should be thanking for what you have. But he was obviously instrumental in Beverly Hills, and she was on that show forever. And she was really maligned on that show. And I agree with her. I think it is amazing that she's turned her back on so many of them.
And if you missed it when it aired last night, please go to Peacock and watch
this installment,
because it is literally one of the best Watch What Happens Live I think I've ever seen. It's right up there. Boy, oh boy. It was amazing.
She did not hold back. And then along these same lines, we talked a little bit about the Valley last week, and it was a disturbing couple of weeks on the new Vanderpump Rules spinoff show, The Valley, where we got to see Jax Taylor, his spin out of reality into abusive verbal, physical abuse was
Terrible.
discussed. I mean,
Terrible.
they're not shying
He's a
away from this on this show, but it's becoming increasingly disturbing that we're giving this man a platform. I mean, this is not
now
in the
he's
shadow.
at the end of episode 2 he went to rehab, but from
Right.
what I hear he does not complete his stay there.
He does not complete his stint. He went on to obviously have more hijinks, rumored, allegedly.
I mean, he wasn't around for episode 3 though. Episode 3 was Jax free.
Right, that's right. So three I thought was amazing. They were in Dave and Buster's, they're partying. We've got Janet, who's a villain, but now kind of was endearing to me. Like, this woman just wanted to win her little tacky little Dave and Buster's prizes so badly. Like, you can buy those things on Amazon and you make probably good money on a show, but it was hilarious how invested in Dave and Buster's she was. I loved it. And then of course we have Michelle and Jesse with their dysfunctional
relationship. That's the story that I find like weird.
Well, they're both terrible people.
Yeah,
both of them.
So she's terrible too?
I mean, allegedly. She seems terrible to me. Really dragging the father of her child, really dragging his dirty laundry out there. I mean, he's doing the same.
But he's horrible. I mean, he is he's a mean guy.
Yeah.
Like, I have a feeling like every day married to him would be like a trip to Asshole Island.
Right. I mean, I don't know. I really go back and forth on both of them. One day I think, well, you know what? Michelle adds a lot to the show. She's got that, kind of a sharp wit. She's kind of a little bit like says it like it is. I'm into her. Then I'm into him thinking, well, he's endearing because he's put up with a lot from her.
I'm not into either of them. I think they are both. Look, I think divorce is bad enough.
Right.
But when you can't, it's like, get a mediator, folks, because you guys cannot agree on anything. And I feel the worst for their daughter. That's who I feel really bad for, because that's right. Kids, they see everything, they hear everything.
Well, that's the same with Jackson Brittany's kid. I mean, he's autistic, which my son's autistic, so I really feel for kind of their situation. And I'm thinking to myself, please, no, these kids, they're like sponges. They're sponges, and they know. Even if it's like, okay, fine, like Jax's child obviously can't understand the words you're saying. However, they pick up on energy and the hatred and the vitriol. Exactly. And just to surround the kids by that, it's just so hard to not do that when you're embroiled in a terrible divorce and when you hate your significant other and you don't want your kids to love them either. But it's making it for me. I'm watching it, but if the kids weren't involved, I'd be having a lot more fun.
Yeah. Agreed.
But I'm still watching it.
Thea, you made a note about, who's coming back to Beverly Hills, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. What are you hearing? Because I haven't heard this.
Well, there's big rumors that they're going to reboot, and not a huge reboot, but get rid of someone big, demote a couple people. And I actually do know for a fact that this cast is unwieldy money-wise, which people never believe me, but I have inside information about Vanderpump and why it got canceled. Well, not canceled, but rebooted, which was because they couldn't afford the cast anymore. And that was the only reason. All these reasons about, the cast wasn't getting along. They couldn't film it.
Lisa said that on Watch What Happens Live last night.
Exactly. She said
about the money that they cost. Yeah.
They said the new cast is cheap, and she said you better believe they're cheap, and that's why we have them on the show and not that more expensive. So the same with Beverly Hills. So every 2 years, everybody's contract gets bumped. They have to make obligatory more money, and so these women at this point, Erica, Dorit, they're all very expensive for Bravo. We're getting up to $1 million now. I mean, Kyle makes 1.2. They're making upwards of $800,000 a season.
That's
insane. It's insane. And so then you have Erica Jane, who brings nothing, and you're going to hand her $800,000 to not talk about her legal issues, to not talk about Tom. It's not happening. So either Erica puts up like Dorit did last season, or she's going to be a friend of, and I think that's a big possibility. And the same with Dorit, where it's like, okay, they gave her another season because of her divorce and because of her and Kyle, but what's going to happen this season? Is she gonna perform? So she's in trouble. So we'll see. And it's a big deal when you get demoted on the show. We're talking, you go from 800,000 to, if you're lucky, 100,000. So the
I see. Okay, that would make sense as a friend of. Okay,
it's huge. You're no longer contractually obliged to give them a certain amount. So you negotiate what they would make as a friend of, which can be anything, but they have zero negotiating power. And some people do walk away. Most people don't, because they're still getting a lot of brand deals and exposure from being on the show. But to be demoted is a huge, huge, huge deal. And if it happens to Erica, I mean, I don't know how she's going to live without her money, because she doesn't have that much else going on. So
Yeah.
what's going to happen is you're either going to see Erica as a friend of, or you're going to see Erica with a lot of fabricated, forced storylines. This just like Dorit last season, where it doesn't feel authentic, but you know she's trying to get her paycheck. So I'm interested to see. They're going to bring on a couple newbies, at least one, if not two newbies. Which, of course, when you start someone new, you can pay them whatever you want. Again, it's all a money thing. They're going to try to see if people fit in. So I'm excited. I think Beverly Hills got old, and I'm excited for new people. I'm excited to, give these OGs a little taste of, hey, if you're not going to give us reality, we're not going to give you a contract.
Well, I'm tired of Sutton. I'm tired of Kyle. So it could use some new blood. That wouldn't be a bad thing. And
right.
I
think Sutton's another one in trouble. Yeah.
Oh, she should be. She was awful this season.
I know.
You know how I feel about that. I won't bore you. What are you're hearing? Are you hearing traders casting rumors? I saw a post, but it was an outlet I do not believe. It was like literally just some Bravo gossip.
It was your moms are watching.
No, Instagram. It wasn't you. It wasn't you. It was someone else, which is why I didn't believe it. Right. So, no, but it had a lot of people from, I don't know if it was Survivor or Big Brother. Yeah. And I was just kind of like, I don't know where this person's getting their info. I didn't trust it. So.
I mean, I've heard so many people. Obviously, you always hear Teresa. She's always been thrown around for that show. I know. I hope not, but
never would.
So I've heard a lot of rumors, but they haven't cast. They haven't sent out casting contracts to anybody. So it could be anyone at this point. But they're negotiating with. I've heard no housewives, but I think there will be housewives because I think that's bread and butter for them. So I think they would be stupid not to use at least a few housewives because that's a big fan base that they would be losing out on if they don't use Bravo.
And they really lean into that Survivor and Big Brother, because so many of those people are just good gamers, and there's such a good loyal fan following as well. So
I agree. Look at the breakout star of last season of Traders, Gabby Windy, who was like on The Bachelorette. I mean, that was like, they have Gabby Windy. So I think what really matters now is personality. I don't know about gaming. I
would agree with you. I think personality is very important because they've had some people on Traders who don't have a lot of personality, and I don't like those people.
Right, so exactly.
I would agree. And by the way, Gabby Windy is married to the incredible Robbie Hoffman, who is on Hacks and who is also in Dying for Sex and who just got a deal at HBO to do her own show.
She is so hot, and Di had her on. Di's cheating on me on another podcast. What's the Hook? Andy and Di. Well, actually, Di's cheating on her other podcast with me because that podcast came first.
This is true.
But if you want to check out What's the Hook with Andy and Di, it is amazing on all of your podcast platforms. And she had Robbie on as a guest, as well as many other esteemed guests. So we'll be doing guests on our show too, but I'll let people do her other show first. And then I always like being the dark horse, the mistress and not the wife. So I'm fine with that. I'm happy with that role in life because then no one expects anything from you. So I'm fine.
You do it well. You do it well.
All right, Di. Well, I think we went over a lot of great things.
We covered a lot of ground.
Excited. By next Friday, we should maybe have some more Traders tea and Beverly Hills information. So I'll try to gather that information during the week. And I hope you have a lovely weekend in Los Angeles.
Thanks. And you take care and have a good time on the East Coast.
Okay. Happy TV watching. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.